So I'm Rylas. I'm the guild leader of Salvation. I've been the guild leader since we started. We were established in 2007. We're a raiding guild, and it was formed to give players a chance at doing some content that they might not have otherwise been a part of. You know, so that really, I guess, kind of gave me that idea to push forward with that type of, I guess, mentality. Um, for this expansion, we plan on rating heroic mode very quickly. Okay, so we are going to start off in normal mode, but we plan to go into heroic mode very shortly into the expansion. And we've put together a roster of players based on the information we gathered near the end of the last expansion. And we'll go over that in just a little bit. We're aiming to have a lot of events and stuff and more community involvement, whether that's in guild or with our server connection. We're connected with Sisters of Elune, Cenarian Circle, Sisters of Elune. So that could be anything like guild meetups in real life or other events on that the players in the guild can, I don't know, invite their friends that are on the server. So we're thinking about opening up some of our inter-guild thing to, the I guess the rest of the populace of our server connection. Um, so another thing we're trying to focus on is
Craig
to make
disconnected.
Salvation a great guild to be in if you
Craig
enjoy
connected.
raiding at various levels
Craig
of
moved in
difficulty,
from Salvation by the
competitive
server.
yet friendly atmosphere, being a part of something that's more than yourself, and being amongst the ranks of one of the oldest and strongest guilds on the server. So I'm gonna have all my officers just go over a couple different little things,
Swiss
hit up on
disconnected.
different topics and everything like that. And we're gonna have Tanks to kick it off
Start
with
command disconnected.
recruiting.
Take it away, Tanksta.
Star command connected.
Turns out we're not
Star
recruiting
command
anymore.
moved in from Salvation by the server.
We're not looking for any more guys. Meeting's over.
Train.
Where's sheep?
Did you like forget your list, Tanks? So come on.
No, he was responding to a whisper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get my facts straight here.
One last edit before you started speaking.
Alright, guys. So, my name is Tankster, for those who don't know me. You can also call me Jose. Most people say whichever one, so whichever ones you want to do, that's fine. So, just talk a little bit about recruiting thus far in this expansion. Well, over the course of the final weeks of Warlords of Draenor, we added new recruits. We would like to welcome them. And we hope for them to become great assets to the raid and to the guild as we move forward into Legion. Now, if you guys remember, at the end of Warlords of Draenor, we had the first, second, and final pass in regards to what people play and master in the new expansion. As it stands, we have a really good mix of classes and specs ready to tackle the first raid of this expansion. If you're here right now and you're not sure if you're on the raid roster or would like to get, or you'd like to be on the raid roster, you get a hold of me after the meeting. We can talk about it then. But down the line, don't expect us to bring you in if you haven't gotten a hold of any officer about your interest in raiding with Salvation. The raid roster pretty much set, so adding players down the line is not something we're looking forward to do anytime soon, but it may change at any time.
Entered channel.
We have a couple concerns as far as the recruiting goes. And people have real life situations, that come up, like job schedules and going back to school, health reasons or emergencies and stuff like that. We want you guys to understand that we as officers understand this and we won't hold it against you, but bear in mind that multiple absences on any of our days will put our team at a disadvantage. If you're the missing person, missing multiple raids as mentioned, and I recruit a specific class to cover you, this isn't an invite to not come back to us anymore because we found your replacement. This is to facilitate, the needs of the raid. And we encourage you to come for the rest of the days that you can come, but know that, you may be sat for progression fights and brought in for the following, like farm content or just to fill in a spot if, if a spot is needed. So until such a time, you can be available to us all 3 days. This is the role that you guys might fill if, you fit that. And another concern is the early beginning fallout in every expansion. And if you guys remember in Mists of Pandaria, for those who are here, since then, I recruited enough to have a team ready for High Maul. and we ended up almost having 30 plus players on and ready to raid all 3 days. And then weeks later, we happened to have where all 15 or so players in that group disappeared. A good example that I would always say is that I recruited like 8 hunters at the beginning, and then after a couple of months, there was no hunters until like 3 or 4 months before the expansion came out, and then again, no hunters. But currently, right now, we have 41 players that want to raid, and I expected this number to be about the same that it was, at the beginning of Legion, that 40 players might want to come back and raid with us, because there's old players coming back, and not only that, we have the people from the same group that wants to raid with us as well. But we'll try to accommodate as much as we can going forward, and to help make my job easier. For those who can help me out with making my job easier, we're asking, you guys to spread the word. Seek out friends who want to play with and raid with a guild that seeks to progress into mythic raiding. If you don't raid at all, but you have friends that, want to come in, do some social aspects of the guild, they're always welcome as well. We accommodate those. And for those who don't wish to raid with us, you have other types of ways you can contribute to the guild or be part of our community, such as fun events that we have. We have some PvP, RP, dungeon, and questing, but we also have events such as the Tournament of Tiny Champions or Tournament of Champions. Those things will help, make the guild feel more alive and active during any time of the day. So if you have friends that enjoy these things I described, they are more welcome to join our community and help increase it. As they say, it's better to play with friends, and imagine them being the same guild. Wouldn't that be awesome? So, what are we searching for now? What classes are we searching now? On the raid calendar, there's only 21 people signed up, and 41 people are interested in raiding. We have an item level set right now for 825 to enter the first raid, which would be on normal mode. So for those who can make it by then, which is next week, that'd be great. But I will try to base it off that number, or base it off the roster we have. The time comes for us to raid, but I think we need possibly either another warlock or maybe a hunter, but probably not. But that will be, long term. We'll just see how that goes. And with that, I will pass the baton on to Nem, who will talk about attendance. Nem, take it away.
One real quick question: how many people are we going to have in a raid group, roughly?
All questions will be saved at the end. So hold on to that.
Alrighty, folks. I'm Nemestrinus, the other useless officer, and today for attendance, we want to kind of punch home a lot of changes and expectations that we didn't necessarily get to hold the raiders to in the previous expansion that we're going to probably hold to into the future. One of the big talking points is that please come to raid on time. If you can let us ahead of time that you're going to be late or you're going to miss raid, that's the biggest help you can give us, and we're talking more than just a handful of hours in advance. If you got a doctor's appointment on Monday, and today's Friday, that's great. Tell us. This helps us plan out for the raid. If we know that someone's going to have to be using an off-spec that they don't usually have, that's enough heads up for both us and them. You should be able to contact any officer in any means. The easiest would be in-game mail, which is acceptable. There's all forms of acceptable communication. The in-game mail, most of the officers are perfectly happy to give you, their cell phone numbers to you if you wanted to text someone. I know Rylus is perfectly game for that. So please make sure you send us, let us know ahead of time if you're going to be late or miss a raid. And I want to remind everyone again that raid start time is at 6 p.m. server time. That means you are ready to walk in with your consumables and everything at 5:55. The minute we walk in, we pull at 6. We're not doing this whole waiting, for stragglers to come in and it's still like 6:25. We're going to literally start as soon as 6 o'clock hits. That means please come to raid prepared. Have your flasks, your potion, and your food, and be gemmed and enchanted. Do this after the end of the previous night's raid. If it's Monday's raid and it just ended, it's 9:15, go get your food and stuff for the next raid. It helps us a lot because then we're already preemptively stocking up the bank the night before with everything that we need in case someone, like, if we ended up wiping 40 times somehow and someone only pulled out 40 potions, we have plenty of extras that people can pull out. But it doesn't help us if everyone restocks, just prior to the start of a raid, and now we're scrambling to make sure we have everything in there so that if other raiders need to restock halfway through the raid, that the materials are there for to do so. That also means make sure you're up to date with add-ons. We had a lot of problems with a number of individuals this previous expansion where they're like, oh, this add-on broke and now all of a sudden I'm useless. Or that this add-on is what caused me to make a mistake. That's not necessarily acceptable, even if it is true. So make sure your add-ons are up to date. This means, again, everything is to be done the day before, not 15 minutes before. This also means know the fights. Shield's going to talk more on it, but this includes what future fights we're going to have up on. Make sure we're not going to cover every single new mechanic for you. So if we're working on boss number 2 inside of a raid, that means you need to have already at least previewed boss number 3 and boss number 4. In case we kill 2 that night, obviously we're going to go work on a new boss. We don't want to be sitting there 30 minutes having to hold a select number of individuals' hands when we're learning the encounter. We want you here for progression. We need our best players there for progression when we go into Mythic. This helps us set us up, the tone essentially for the rest of our progression for what remains of Legion. We need all of our players here. We have a lot of individuals that are just like, the raid has 21 people supposedly, I'm not going to bother logging in. That's not acceptable behavior, and in the end, it doesn't help the raid as a whole. We have had that happen multiple times, individuals that have chosen to just not take part for whatever reason, even though that's what they signed up for. Please, please be here. Note that loot is given out partly, at least, based on your attendance. If you miss raids, you don't get to complain about losing loot to other players. All these factors, as well as your performance, will affect your continued ability to raid with us as loot distribution. Don't forget that raids, again, starting at 6 o'clock, are Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. If you can't make some of these days, make sure you let Tanksta know if you're going to fit in that little corner of an individual that only shows up 1 day a week, so we know that we have individuals that can essentially hold your spot for the Mondays and Tuesday raids or whatever days that you end up missing. But note, again, just like Tanksta had previously mentioned, that more than likely priority will go to individuals that can make all 3 days. With that, I will now pass it over to Shieldsblock, who's going to refer to performance.
Hi guys, I'm Shieldsblock, or Josh. I prefer to be called Josh, but you can call me whatever you want. I'll be talking about raid as a whole, like generally what we expect. For starters, we want people to be playing like the optimal specs. There's plenty of sims online and websites with data that will inform you going into each patch, like what will be optimal. What we don't want is, for example, a mage who refuses to play fire when it's doing like 100k more DPS than Frost is. Like, Salvation as a whole just wants the players to be playing the best spec to be most optimal. There are plenty of websites to find information about your class, best in slot gear choices, stats, etc. Icy Veins, MMO, How to Priest, Alter Time are all websites to name a few. Be aware and understand each fight and which talent choices are optimal on a fight-by-fight basis. Be conscious and aware of other mechanics, so if for some odd reason you have to do it, like, say on Gorfiend, last expansion, you're breaking out spirits and then all of a sudden someone else needs to step in and do it, make sure you know what or how to do so. If you're dead, you're no use to us, so, learn to live. We combat log, and yes, we have multiple people, not just officers, who look at these logs, and we know what you're doing wrong, so we use Ask Mr. Robot for logging on top of Warcraft logs. AMR is slightly easier on the ICUs. Logs are uploaded after every raid, and Salvation aims for our raiders at the very least to be in the 50th percentile, which by no means is a difficult feat to reach. If you require assistance reading any of these logs, don't be afraid to ask any of the officers or any of the fellow raiders who also use them. Item level we're asking for entry into raid is 825, scaling up to 830 within the next few weeks. Individuals that don't meet these requirements will not be permitted to raid with us until you bump us up. Excuse me, just a sec. We will have an alt raid / gear catch-up raid on Saturdays at a regular raid time starting at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is server. It will be 6 p.m. server. It will be expected for you to perform at an adequate level, although the environment will be less serious of that of main raid. Lastly, during progression, don't get frustrated. We're all there learning together. If you die or an asshole, be honest and don't be ashamed. You may not know what you did wrong, but others may not, so help them be aware of situations that occur that you've experienced. And with that, I pass you on to Nem, I believe, to discuss Guild Bank information.
Alright, so, a lot of people have been asking a number of questions. What gear level do we need for enchants? What are we doing for Obliterium? And here I am to answer all your questions. First off, I'd like to thank you for the largest contributors that we had for donations to the Guild Bank. In no particular order, Zoloth, Kroka, myself, Senjul. There are others who have contributed a significant amount. These are the individuals that have done the most, and I want to thank everyone who contributed to the fuel that fed the Salvation war machine in the previous expansion, and I'm looking forward to getting continued contributions into the future. But this in turn talks about the large need that we have for this expansion, donations. It's important, as raid is starting just next week, that we need as many consumables as we can acquire, and it makes it easier when everyone contributes at least a little bit here and there, of varying amounts. In the end, we end up surviving quite well with what donations we receive, but it's going to be a lot different this expansion than it was in the previous one. The only reason my name's even in the largest contribution list is because I had 14 different alts that were feeding materials into the guild bank because of my garrison resources. That's not a comfort that I can personally enjoy this expansion, so now I actually have to get off my ass and actually physically go gather the things and then put it into the guild bank. And so it's very important that those that didn't necessarily contribute very much, if at all, in the previous expansion, to try and step up to be closer to the daiquiris or the Tankstas for what he did, or Golganars, just right there to be giving us enough that we would be like, oh hey, thanks a lot for doing this. So make sure you guys try and stay on top of donations as you can. Even right now, the 3 tabs that we have for rating are looking really empty right now. And that's mostly because we're looking to see what contributions we get first before we start physically stacking the raid. Now, to begin talking about everything that the bank will provide with all that gold that the Raiders made for us in the previous expansion, which, congratulations Raiders, we smashed what our goal was by like a lot. I want to explain, again, just for everyone's general knowledge, what the Guild Bank provides for you as a Raider. The Guild Bank as a Raider provides you repair bills to a degree. For most people you may decide that it's not very much, and we're going to personally be talking about whether or not we want to increase it in the future, but right now it remains, I believe it's the 200 gold every day, yay. But the big things that we contributed is you guys get all the consumables that you want, essentially, that are used for raids. You get all the food that you want, free enchants, free gems, free food, flasks, potions, anything like that. That's all free to you, and that's what the Guild Bank will continue to contribute into the future. But part of the plan that we were using with this gold, besides just the consumables, obviously, was the crafted gear that we have all been very excited for this expansion. And then some of us have come to the realization that what the crafted gear ended up becoming was not what we had planned for. For those of you that had kept up with it in the beta, crafted gear used to be capped at 875, not 850 like it is right now. And we had the expectation that we would be using crafted gear with us that would work with us going into Heroic. That ended up not being the case. Even with the future 7.1 patch, crafted gear is only going to go up to 855, whereas starting on next Tuesday, regular gear even coming out of Heroics can possibly Warforge or Titanforge past crafted gear. So with that being said, amongst a number of other reasons, we will not actually be supplying the guildies with Obliteraum for their crafted gear. Do note that there can be some minor, exceptions if we're looking to, if someone literally needs like that one last Obliteraum for one piece, and it's 2 weeks into the, into raiding, we may slide for you, but the expectation should be that we are not going to supply anyone with any Obliteraum at this time, with how the crafted system is currently implemented. It just doesn't benefit the raid to essentially spend 3 times the amount that we were making previously on a single individual piece, when that we could better use it for anything else into the future. Which is why one of the things that we'll be doing, if for those of you that are old-time raiders, you remember that you had to give a certain amount of Fellblight or Sorceress in the previous expansion. That's something moving forward that we're not going to require from the raid. You guys don't have to give us anything this time around, at least for the foreseeable future, until we either A, decide that there's something significant that you guys can bring, or B, we decide that crafted gear can now become something that is functional for us to sink that kind of gold into. Remember that, distribution for anything that we do in terms of BOEs that we may find in raid, more than likely we may choose to not sell them here in the beginning, but that's a decision we're going to be making in the future. But note that for BOEs, the loot distribution, even though you individually pick it up, still goes to an officer to then make the decision where that BOE goes, again based upon attendance and performance within the raid. Note that even though ruins do currently exist, from your caches, I believe it's going to be available once LFR wings start, we are not going to require them out the door because they're all temporary. We have no permanent solutions. But that's not saying that the ruins will not eventually become a needed resource. It has to be one of the things you bring on a raid day. So start stockpiling your ruins now, and once we figure out if they have introduced a permanent ruin in the future, then ruins will become a required resource that you bring with you to raids, just like it was in the previous expansion. For the enchant question, for the decent enchants to be put on, note that we are currently requiring for the very good enchants for them to be 865 before we begin enchanting those. And with that, we're going to head and move it over to Rylus, who will begin talking about events and the social media aspect of the guild.
Hey, I'm back. All right. So, this is supposed to be some of the more interesting things, guys. So, remember, we are a community. We're a guild. I need everybody to make sure that we are treating each other fairly, kindly, all that other stuff. And one way we can do that is, instead of seeing each other in only a raid setting, for those that plan on raiding, I know we have a bunch of people that aren't, besides just seeing each other in that raid setting, and tensions can get high, and everybody can just flare up and all that stuff, come to our guild events where you can see everybody in a different setting, different light. I know when I'm raid leading, I try to run a tight ship, and definitely with a lot of people, there's a lot of personalities, to try and corral everybody into doing one thing. So it might look a certain way, but come hang out, just do one of these guild events. We try to do one every month, and just have some fun. So we have plenty of events and contests planned throughout the year. such as, and of course, a lot of these ideas came directly from guildies, and we were able to implement it and even have some for a very long time. So we have a World PvP, where Salvation shows Azeroth our might. We just recently had one, I want to say in June, and that was probably one of the last few times we were able to kill Varian Rin. Well, yeah. Um, we have a transmogrification contest where you can strut your stuff for a gold prize. So once again, a lot of these events came from players in the guild themselves. We have our Secret Savior White Murloc gift exchange, and that's in Winter's Veil. So we exchange silly gifts during that. That's always fun. And our ever popular Tournament of Champions and Interguild Duel Tournament, one-on-one. We face everybody round robin style. That's actually tomorrow. So definitely, check your calendar, sign. We have the info on the website, all that stuff. It's gonna be lots of fun, lots of gold to be had. And so that's our Tournament of Champions. And then fairly recently, we started doing a Tournament of Tiny Champions. And that is our pet battle tournament. And that's been also very successful. And we actually just had one in August. So the next one's coming up, I believe, like in half a year. So that's really, really good. So the current plan is just to have at least one event a month. So keep your eyes peeled for that, for the dates and times. And we want to hold more events throughout the year to get to maybe 2 events per month. But the ideas need to be fleshed out and just make sure they feel solid enough to turn into another event. So if you guys have any ideas, feel free to let us know about them, and we'll try and stress test the idea. We're gonna do all the, but what about this? What about this? We're gonna stress test it to make sure that it's solid enough to add it to our ever-growing list. And so we post about all these different events online with our different social media accounts, like our Facebook, our Twitter, things like that, or our website. So the way that our information goes out is we have the guild message of the day, of course. We have the guild calendar, but we use the guild website for some of the more bigger announcements, like when we're having guild events, or let's say we got some new boss kills and stuff like that. We'll try and throw it up there. That's that. Our Facebook and our Twitter, by the way, everything is Salvation CC. So if you're looking for us, it's facebook.com/salvationcc, twitter.com/salvationcc, youtube.com/salvationcc. So give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe to us, all that stuff. Yeah, and so on our Facebook and Twitter, that's where we post a lot of our things. Now, let's say that you don't like social media, or you don't have a social media account because, whatever, there's no social media, forget that. That's fine, because on our website, which we, try to push everybody to register on, you could see in guild, if you are a pagan rank, you have not registered on our guild website. Anybody else, pretty much everybody else, you have registered, and that's why you're at a different rank, and you're going to be eligible to start moving up in ranks and everything like that. And ranks aren't that big of a deal. It's just for us officers to know, like, who's raiding, who's not, things like that. But you just get a little bit more access to the bank.
Star command disconnected.
Yeah, so, and our YouTube, we post videos, funny videos from us raiding, or things like this. The guild meeting is going to be on there, so expect to see this up there soon. And we're trying to up our presence on social media with, like, fun little posts and stuff about just whatever. I just realized that it was pointed out to me, I skipped what I was going to about the website. So if you don't like social media, on our website, we have a little Twitter feed. So you can just read it from there if you don't have Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. And that's just for more, like, quick little updates. Like, oh, here's a cool picture of something that happened. Here's an article about something. Here's a new video of whatever. That's what that is. And so we're trying to up our presence, and we can do that with your help by tagging us. Let's say you're doing something, whatever, just go ahead and @SalvationCC, just on Facebook or Twitter, and do that. Or like a post that we put up. When you like a post, it draws so many more eyes to the post that we made. And, maybe some of your friends who are on Facebook and other guilds, or who don't play or whatever, just see the community that you're a part of, and they'll be more inclined to check us out, maybe join us, things like that. So that's always really good. Um, I do want to point out that we also I do also want to point out that the Mumble and the website are paid for by guildies. Guildies contribute to it, and you could see in the message of the day on Mumble who helped to contribute to these things. There's a little link there that'll send you to a donation page. It goes right to Salvation's PayPal, and those funds are used to pay for the Mumble, for the website, to make sure it's ad free and give us some other features that we can use to help ensure that we're running the guild smoothly. I used to pay for them by myself out of pocket just because I wanted to give the guildies that best experience, but over time people have let me know that they wanted to help contribute monetarily, and that's a way for you to do so. Once again, all the funds go directly to paying for those things just to keep them going. Another thing I want to talk about that I noticed that we didn't bring up is, even though we are primarily raiding guild, that doesn't mean that we just straight up don't do any other type of content. So if there are people that want to organize runs for old school raiding, or for player versus player, like PvP things, if you want to do rated battlegrounds, things like that, you don't need to ask for permission from an officer. Go ahead and just throw it up on the calendar, invite some people, and what I would recommend is you try and keep it consistent. Just keep going on week after week. Try and do it. Just use Group Finder to backfill if anything. That doesn't necessarily mean that Salvation can't be, that kind of guild for you as well, instead of just a raiding guild. So I guess that should be about it. So I want to thank you all for a great year, and your hard work and dedication is appreciated. And I just want us to continue to do what we're doing individually and together to better ourselves and the guild. We're gonna go into the Q&A in just a moment, but this is pretty much gonna be nearing the end of the meeting.
I just want to say one thing. We are only as strong as our weakest link, guys, and we all must help each other and work together as a guild, for that is the bigger picture. The continued support, love, teamwork, and sense of fellowship is what Salvation's all about. So for those who are in it for themselves, they will only hinder the guild experience and our message of what we're trying to present, as a guild. So, something, to think about.
Yeah. All right, so let's go into some of the Q&A. So Sunstraight earlier asked about what about second and third and so on in regards to raid team, and this is what we're gonna do about that. We're straight up not or at least not for the foreseeable future. We have tried multiple raid teams in the past, and while they did have some success, there ended up being a little bit of drama between groups based off of who got the better people, who has the worst people, this and that, and a whole bunch of other things. I'd rather not have to deal with that. Also, I can't lead another raid team. It would have to be someone else that would volunteer. I also don't want to have people take away the options for the one raid team. So right now it's just the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm sorry, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday. That's the main raid team. We're going to start up not immediately in the first week, but we're gonna, maybe a month or two down the line, we're gonna have that normal run on Saturdays, just to kind of, have some people who might not be geared enough or skilled enough or whatever to just try and get a little bit of gear in normal mode. And everyone else is pretty much part of the main raid team. We can fit 30 players into normal mode and heroic mode, and if we hit the cap, then so be it. I'll swap out people if we need to, but pretty much everyone should be able to fit that. And we're also predicting the early drop off. It happens every expansion. If you guys think, oh, that's not going to be me, and it might be you, it might be you. We thank you for starting up with us and helping us get going. But, it's something that we have to plan for. So even though it looks like, oh my God, over 40 players, it doesn't really mean over 40 players. So that's why we're doing just the one right there. And I also believe that should help to answer Rathus's question about how many players will be in the raid at once. As many as we can fit, provided that you're over the 825 item level for the first week or two, and we're going to bump that up to 830 after that. And it should pretty much stay at a low enough thing that we can, if we have to get new players, we can bring them in. But I do want to say that 825 is not impossible. I'm going to actually admit a little something right now. I have yet to run any Mythic Dungeons. I'm actually over 825 item level, so it's not impossible. You can do it. Make sure that you're ready for Tuesday, okay? It is. It's very generous. As it's all out, 825 is very generous.
It is a very generous eye level, but at the same time, we felt that it was high enough to be relevant, but low enough to be if individuals wanted to play alts for whether it was for gathering or crafting profession purposes, amongst other things, that it would be flexible enough that you'd be able to get that item level with relative ease for the raid. And take note that, again, just like it was mentioned, within the next week or two, it then goes up to 830. We may bump it up again up to 835, but it's all dependent upon what we have. And it's more so for current raiders, not necessarily targeted at future recruits.
Oceanography asks, are we doing any heroic week 1? And if not, can we pug it?
We are going to be progressing into heroic mode more than likely 1 or 2 weeks into this expansion. We will not be persistently staying in normal for a significant amount of time. So if the answer to that question is can you go pug heroic for the first or second week, the answer is yes. But after that second week, you cannot pug heroic.
The other thing is that it's on a loop-based lockout. So if you do that, we're still gonna need you in our group. You got yourself locked out to earning loot from killing that boss, but we still need you as part of the raid team. So you end up killing that boss the second time.
On top of that, we are master looting, so if you do kill something and say we have 15 people and you're the 15th person, you'll fuck 4 other people out of getting gear, because, like, the way it works or whatever, it drops like for every 5, an additional piece of loot drops. So, like, I don't know. Don't do that, I guess, is long story short.
I mean,
that's why I made just a general statement. No, do not pug heroic after the second week.
Casina asks, yo, alt raids were promised. We got some info on that?
Pretty sure we mentioned that the Saturday raid. It literally starts as soon as we stop doing normal in our regular raids. That the Saturday raid starts.
Promise.
Yeah, we also didn't promise. I'm pretty sure actually my response up until this point has been go kick rocks.
Yeah, so just the Saturday run, the details are still being worked out on that. I mean, we said 6 p.m. It might be a little bit earlier because that run might go a little bit longer than just 3 hours, just because it is only a 1-day a week thing. And that's kind of meant for people that maybe they can't run 3 nights a week, or they just don't have that kind of drive to be like that Mythic Raider and all that stuff. And we'll try and be a little bit more forgiving. Yeah, or alts and stuff. And we still actually need a leader for it. We still need someone to help run it. So volunteers, you could hit us up after the meeting. Speaking of volunteers, if you have experience in graphic design or web design, just hit me up after the meeting. Got some things to talk about with you. Actually, I'll just say right here, it's for the guild website. We try to update it with every major raid patch, and we've been doing this since Wrath of the Lich King. We first started back in Burning Crusade, but in Wrath of the Lich King we started trying to updated to match everything. So before we had it like, you know, icy blue, like the Lich King and Icecrown Citadel and all that stuff. And we've had all the colors, all the things, all the colors. We had purple for like Bastion of Twilight, and we had brown for Siege of Orgrimmar. And right now it's green for, you know, Archimonde and all that stuff. But we need to move it forward, and we're trying to look for someone to help with actual graphic design, not just just paint the website red and be done with it.
It was mentioned before, but for the alt raid, you know, I just said it in raid chat, mic open. We do have the same preparation requirements for that Saturday raid, but it is a bit more lax in the sense that, you know, we don't necessarily require you to be beating any main raiders. But you are expected to at least have some kind of preparation. Your mic is still open, Rylas.
Oops, sorry. I'm like sighing.
Also, 2 questions. A published list in the order in which the guild will attempt to do encounters. I am going to go ahead and let you know right off the bat that of the Emerald Nightmare bosses that are coming up, Nithendra is the one required one, and then after that we're able to look at Heart of Corruption, Renfarrel, Ursoc, or Dragons of the Nightmare. It can go in any order however we end up deciding. And that's not something any of us are going to necessarily tell you right off the bat right here. But do know that you are going to at least have to kill Nithendra, and then look at a general idea of all the other 4 bosses that show up in the log, because we can do them in any order that we want. I was asked, Zoloff asked if we're going to use Codex much for the talents. The answer is yes. We will be making sure that we have codexes supplied so that we can consistently change talents on a fight-per-fight basis. That goes in hand with the free consumables that we supply for the guild.
Araceli asks, will Salvation be focusing on Karazhan when it comes out?
That is it'll be a dungeon. 5 players can go into there. It's not a raid. You just go ahead and get your guildies to do it. Ask around. We have plenty of people.
The answer for if there's a posted list of the raid roster, the answer to that is no. But you can essentially discover who is your fellow guildie, Shiva. Who your fellow raider, your mic's open, who your fellow raiders are.
If you, right now, if you don't see a raid invite for Tuesday, you're not on the raid team. You have not been, you know, like that's the character that we expect you to be on for the raid is on that invitation list already. On for Tuesday. If you don't see it, then we have no idea that you were trying to be a raider or on that character. And with that, I think let's get some guild pictures. All right, so how do we want to do this? Like all of us? Okay, here we go. Well, everybody behind Riley. I have the star on my head, and we'll face this direction.
I'd also want to make sure that even if you manage to sign up on that raid invite, if you weren't the class that we specified previously, you're also not going to get invited.
Where's the star? Riley said I don't see it anymore.
Sorry,
It just went away. Big assholes in the back.
Yeah,
Tank stuck the fuck out of there.
Leave some space, guys. Y'all are all up on each other.
Let's do like normal picture first, probably.
We need some more people on the. What is that? Left side?
Please.
Yeah, left side.
WDeath, get rid of your pet.
No mounts.
Badass
Please, no mounts.
abomination is covered
Mount.
in
There's
it.
no pets.
Yeah. Let's just get it like this. No pets, please. No mount.
As our final, just turn around.
Miles, come on. Make it nice. Where's Huru? Huru, come on.
It's a lovely pet.
He's perfect for the picture. He's sleeping.
I'm a rock.
Let me get out of blood. Let me get out of fraud.
Because I want to
Can't
zoom
be.
in. I want to zoom in to get everybody's names. And who I'm not gonna be able to get you if you're up there. Yeah, sorry.
Sit with the bears.
You're like a pinecone bear. Move it on top of you, don't stop bitching about it. Jesus.
Mel disconnected.
Wait, Sunshine. Wait. I'm gonna do that. Yo, get off your mount, please. In the back.
Ipai disconnected.
I think that's 100, man.
Shiva, your freaking little Deathwing covering up half the name. Alright. Spell effects, let's go. Everything. Everything you got. Bloodlust. Time.
Dangerous move to AFK by the server.
Whoa.
Dangerous
What is
entry
that?
channel.
Who's someone
Really
with you?
Hodier.
Awesome. Awesome. We got
That's
some
cool.
great pictures. We're gonna make sure to put this on the on social media, alright? So if you guys want to see that, I guess we could try and throw it up on the website too. So if you guys want to see that, don't forget to look for